Tesla charging station, humming quietly in the middle of nowhere. A lifeline for the electric dreams of environmentalists who despise fossil fuels with a passion and demand we stop emitting CO2. At least half of whom would say that includes your exhale. And guys, as I start, please make sure to thumb up the video, share the video with a friend. It really does make a difference. If you're new to the channel and you like this content, do subscribe. Leave a comment with your thoughts. But Tesla is a step in the correct direction, am I right? A saving grace, a company that might take a big bite out of oil's profits. So it would make sense that the deranged whack jobs caught on video, hoodies and masks obfuscating identification by intention, who burned the Tesla charging stations the other night, or the man who actually attempted to bomb a Tesla dealership, they must have been oil executives protecting their turf and their profits.
Hey, what are you doing?
This is a pretzel town, pretty boy.
That was a joke, of course. The arsonists and bombers are, as you no doubt guessed, leftist cultists, the Antifa types, and the bomber was trans to boot. These freaks are on a rampage, torching charging stations in Massachusetts.
Tesla chargers going up in flames. Investigators believe someone intentionally set them on fire around 1 o'clock Monday morning.
I happen to use these chargers often, and it's scary that someone would come and torch this because it's hazardous to society, hazardous to the air, and dangerous for all of us. So it's really unfortunate.
The chargers are located in the Point Shopping Center in Littleton. The incident comes as Tesla vehicles and dealerships have been targeted in response to CEO Elon Musk's cost-cutting measures in the Trump administration.
Spray painting swastikas in Colorado and trying to turn Tesla showrooms into smoking craters. Why? Because Elon Musk, an actual wizard that exists behind the curtain, the actual rocket scientist who AOC said ain't all that smart.
This dude is probably one of the most unintelligent billionaires I have ever met or seen or witnessed.
Well, he had the audacity to state out loud, we're on the verge of bankrupting our nation, and I'm going to help stop the bleeding. Let's set the stage. America's in a fiscal horror show. As of March 2025, we're shelling out $1.1 trillion a year just on interest expense for the national debt. $1.1 trillion. That's more than the $850 billion we're dumping into the Defense Department. Wrap your mind around that. We're spending more on the last line of the credit card bill than to arm the troops. Back in the day, we built highways, the Hoover Dam, nuclear plants. Now, we're just writing IOUs to bankers while the infrastructure crumbles and the military scrambles for scraps. It's a slow motion train wreck that all will acknowledge, but few have the courage to actually address. After all, it runs counter to any politico's incentive, which is actually to grab as much money for his jurisdiction from the federal coffers as possible. Then Elon pulls Excalibur from the stone. And with his Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, he tries to yank the emergency brake on that runaway train.
The lever you have pulled, brakes, is not in service. Please make a note of it.
Musk got a target on his back because he's using Excalibur to cut through the pork and the waste. Oh my goodness, the waste. DOGE is digging into the muck. Take this, Jim. $59 million of your taxpayer money funneled via FEMA to bankroll cushy hostel stays for illegals in New York City. $19 million for the rooms and the rest for room service and security. This money was supposed to be used for emergencies for Americans, but the last administration used your hard-earned dollars to pay for room service for illegals. Enjoy your cappuccino, amigo. Or how about the limestone mine in Pennsylvania, where 700 federal drones shuffle paper 230 feet underground to process retirements? Manila envelopes, cardboard boxes, and an elevator so rickety it decides when Uncle Sam's workers can clock out for good. That's $2 billion a year on a system stuck in 1935. Then there's the Pentagon, bleeding $571 billion of its $850 billion budget into a black hole. Auditors can't even track it. We are talking about overpriced coffee cups at $1,300 a pop, probably rivaling the cappuccinos sent to the illegals via room service in New York City. Soap dispensers jacked up by 8,000% by Boeing. It's a grift so blatant it would make a mob boss blush.
I will say good day to you, sir.
Okay, I will go.
Musk's DOGE's crew is exposing this insanity, vowing to slash $1 trillion off the fat. And the cultists, they're losing their frickin' minds. These aren't protesters. They're terrorists with a hard-on for chaos. They're vandalizing Cybertrucks, keying Teslas on the street, and slapping anti-Elon stickers on bumpers like it's a gang tag. In Littleton, Massachusetts, they torched 7 charging stations. Arson, plain and simple. In Loveland, Colorado, some psycho named Lucy Grace Nelson, as he calls herself, as he pretends to be a female, as I mentioned earlier, hit the same dealership 4 times and finally got caught with the incendiary device in his hand like he's starring in a horrendous action flick. 9 got nabbed outside a New York Tesla joint screaming about Musk's Nazi salute, a fever dream from his Trump inauguration wave.
Thank you for making it happen. Thank you. My heart goes out to you.
They're not just mad, they're positively possessed. A cult of frothing lunatics who think that Elon's the devil for what? For daring to cut government bloat? Newsflash, psychos, he's trying to save the republic, not to sink it. The irony's thick enough to choke on. These clowns howl about fascism while firebombing private property. To what? To keep the status quo of grifted money being funneled into left-wing NGOs? Keep the money train rolling to our political causes, or else. Textbook terrorism, amigos. Last time I checked, it meets the definition. They demonize Musk, call him a cult leader, yet they're the ones acting like brainwashed drones, torching anything with the Tesla logo and threatening his life to boot. Elon's out here pushing for a leaner government, warning that we're going to collapse under $35 trillion in debt if we don't act. Oh, wait a second. It's 36 now. He's not wrong. Interest payments are a ticking time bomb. Meanwhile, these nut jobs think the real enemy is the guy building cars and rockets, not the bureaucrats blowing your tax dollars on migrant spa days and underground paper dungeons. Now, flip on the news, CNN, MSNBC, the usual blue team suspects. It's a ghost town. Not a single headline about Tesla vandalism spree. No outrage over these domestic terrorists, the same way that they behaved during the Summer of Love BLM attacks on civility and society. If this were a MAGA mob trashing Priuses, they'd be screaming insurrection 24/7, and everybody knows it. They'd be plastering mugshots from coast to coast of the MAGA extremists and having the FBI investigate the same way that they incarcerated grandmas who showed up to the Capitol after the protests had already taken place and entered into the US Capitol building. But since it's their side's unhinged foot soldiers, it's radio silence. Again, I'm invoking the BLM Summer of Love. Why? Because they are blue team media propaganda highlighting only that which benefits their corrupt, rent-seeking paymasters. They're not going to broach the subject on MSDNC primetime because it proves their Elon is evil narrative has more holes in it than the world's golf courses combined. He's slashing waste they swore couldn't be cut, and their cult millions are imploding over it. Here's the kicker. Elon doesn't need a cape or a crown. Day one of Trump's term, he's in the White House, DOGE in tow, hacking away with Excalibur at the excess. He's got the guts to say, enough. And the results are piling up. Billions clawed back already. And these freak cults, they're a sideshow, a tantrum from a dying ideology that thrives on handouts and hates anyone who is successful. They'll keep vandalizing, they'll keep bombing, they'll keep screaming, but it's noise, not true power, only intimidation. And we Americans have to stand up against these terrorists. The border is locked, the budget is shrinking, and Elon's still standing strong. These programmed zombies will use actual physical force against anyone who disagrees with their Marxist nihilistic ideology. And it's my duty, it's your duty, to tell them to stand down. Me? I'm all for innovation, for a government that doesn't piss away my money on nonsense. Musk is fighting that fight. And these cultists want to take us as a collective to drown in their swamp of misery, so we all know how they feel daily. I'm against such notions of equity. But keep torching Teslas and destroying the hard work of others, you unhinged, miserable clowns. It won't change the math or stop the man. Elon's out here saving the republic, and all you've got is a matchstick and a grudge. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know which side to take.